Imagine dying on a crowded beach, in plain sight, yet remaining a stranger to the world for over 70 years. It is the morning of December 1st, 1948, Adelaide, Australia. The sun is already baking the sand of Somerton Beach. A local jeweler named John Lyons is taking a morning walk. He looks down the shore and sees a man lying against the seawall. The man is lying back, legs crossed, head resting against the concrete. Lyons thinks the man is sleeping off a hangover. He notices the man lift his right arm, then drop it. He thinks nothing of it, but hours later, the man hasn't moved. The police are called. When they arrive, they realize this isn't a drunk. He is dead. He is about 40 years old. He is incredibly fit, with the calf muscles of a dancer. He is wearing a beautiful suit, far too warm for the Australian summer. His shoes are polished to a mirror shine, but as the police search his pockets, the mystery begins. He has no wallet, no ID, no cash, and strangest of all, ... Every single name tag on his clothing has been carefully, surgically cut away. The police were baffled. The autopsy revealed his spleen was enlarged and his stomach contained blood, suggesting poison. But tests for every known poison came back negative. It was as if he had been killed by something that vanished without a trace. A month later, a breakthrough. A brown suitcase was found deposited in the cloakroom of the Adelaide railway station. It had been checked in on November 30th, the day before the body was found. Inside, they found clothes, a stencil brush used for painting on cargo crates, a screwdriver, and thread. Specifically, Barber brand threader type, not sold in Australia. It was the exact thread used to repair the lining of the dead man's trousers. This linked the suitcase to the body. But again, the tags were cut off, the clothes inside, except for 3.
3 items of clothing bore the name Keen, but the police quickly deduced this was a red herring. There was no missing person named Keen. Whoever left the name wanted the police to chase a ghost.
The suitcase also contained a table knife that had been ground down into a sharp instrument. It looked like a shiv, or perhaps a tool for espionage. You have to remember the context. 1948. The Cold War is freezing over. Just a few hours from Adelaide is the Woomera Test Range, a top-secret facility for testing long-range missiles. Intelligence agencies were everywhere. Was the Somerton Man a spy who knew too much? Months passed. The body was embalmed. A plaster cast was made of his face. The investigation was stalling. Then, a pathologist decided to look at the dead man's pants one more time. He turned the pockets inside out. He felt something strange in the waistband. A tiny, secret pocket, spurtly sewn, hidden inside the main pocket. Inside, tightly rolled up, was a tiny scrap of paper. It contained only 2 words. Tamam Shud. Police contacted library experts. They identified the phrase immediately. It is Persian. It means it is finished, or the end. It is found on the very last page of a book of 12th century poetry, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. The poem is about living life to the fullest because death is inevitable. But finding the scrap wasn't enough. They needed the book it was torn from. Police put out a nationwide appeal. And miraculously, a man walked into the station. He said, "I found this book in the back seat of my unlocked car, right near Somerton Beach." Around the time the man died, the police examined the book. The last page was torn out. They held the tiny Tamam Shud scrap up to the tear. It was a perfect match. But the book had more secrets. On the back cover, visible only under ultraviolet light, were faint pencil markings, a phone number, and a code.
5 lines of capital letters. The second line is crossed out. It looks like a cipher. Intelligence agencies, the Navy, and amateur codebreakers have tried to crack it for 75 years. To this day, no one knows what it says.
The code was a dead end, but the phone number worked. It belonged to a young nurse living just 400 meters from where the body was found. For decades, she was known only as Justin. Police visited her. She admitted to owning a copy of the Rubaiyat. She said she gave it to an army lieutenant named Alf Boxall in 1945. Police thought they had solved it. The dead man must be Alf. But then they found Alf Boxall alive, and he still had the copy of the book Justin gave him. The Tamam Shud page was still intact. So, the dead man had another copy of the book, linked to the nurse's phone number. When police showed Justin the plaster bust of the dead man's face, her reaction was terrifying. The detective in charge described it vividly.
She looked at the bust and seemed completely taken aback, to the point where she looked like she was about to faint. She looked away and would not look back at it.
She denied knowing him, but she was evasive. It was later revealed she spoke Russian and had suspected communist sympathies. Was she the handler? Was the Somerton Man a lover trying to reconnect with her, only to be silenced? For 70 years, the Somerton Man was a ghost. Theories ranged from a black marketeer to a Soviet spy to a jilted lover. But in 2022, the future caught up with the past. Professor Derek Abbott, who had spent a lifetime obsessed with the case, finally got permission to analyze DNA from hairs found in the plaster bust of the man. Using forensic genealogy, the same tech used to catch the Golden State Killer, they built a family tree. And finally, the Somerton Man had a name. Carl Charles Webb, born in 1905. He wasn't a super spy. He was an electrical engineer from Melbourne. So, does this solve the mystery? Not quite. We now know who he was. Carl Webb was a man whose life was falling apart. He had left his wife. He was depressed. He loved poetry. He liked to bet on horses. Some believe the uncrackable code was actually just the first letters of horse names for a race betting system. But questions remain. Why did he travel to Adelaide? Why was he so close to the nurse's house? Why were the tags cut off his clothes? And why did the nurse react with such horror if he was just an engineer? Perhaps Carl Webb was a spy and his engineering job was a cover. Or perhaps he was just a heartbroken man who traveled to a beautiful beach, read his favorite poem, and decided that his story was finished. We have a name now, but the thoughts in his head as he watched the sun go down over the Indian Ocean that final evening, those remain a secret, locked away forever in the phrase Tamam Shud.